Hi folks, welcome back to the Amazing Education channel. Today's video is about why Starbucks will continue to do well in the future. So basically, these videos are about the information. It's not really about good quality video because all I have is my phone. So remember, it's just about listening. Also, it's not financial advice because I'm not a financial advisor. I can only give financial education. So now Starbucks, it's a good time to buy the Starbucks stock if you want to invest for the long term. And the reason is that basically people get hooked on caffeine and sugar, and Starbucks being a dominant player, if you can find a time when there's a stock market crash and the value of the stock is close to its book value, so it would be called the price to book value ratio. So another way to type it in to search is the PB ratio, which means price to book value. And if you need to know what the book value means, it's if the company was sold, how much would it be worth? So all of its assets, what are they worth? And then if the stock price is at or below what the company is worth, like all of its assets, basically it includes whatever debt the company has and then the assets. And you know that the stock price is good when it's below what the company would be worth if they shut down the business at that time. So as I said, the product is addictive. It's caffeine. People really want it every day. It's so delicious, and they keep on innovating, and it's just part of their dominant strategy, which nobody has been able to break. Now, of course, the Chinese, like they compete in almost every industry, they are competing in the coffee industry with their innovative Luckin coffee. And that's another good thing to invest in, is Luckin coffee. Now, as I said, it's not financial advice, and I'm not a financial advisor, but this Luckin coffee is relatively new. This is 2022. It's a relatively new business, and they started out with some very fraudulent or questionable management, and they've gotten rid of the problem management. And what they did was they inflated or basically lied about the sales numbers of the Luckin coffee. And this is in China, Luckin, Luckin coffee. And so the reason why they're doing well, and it may be a good investment, is because they grew rapidly. And in China, before Starbucks, there was not a big tradition of drinking coffee. But the younger generation, being in such a polluted country, they need to stay indoors in the big cities and not spend much time outside. And so how do you stay inside and use your phone or your video game system or your computer for long hours if you're not hooked up to some kind of caffeine or sugar or some other kind of tea, some other kind of beverage? Well, maybe you would eat, and then that's going to cause major health problems. On the other hand, drinking coffee and caffeine, like it's in tea, this will actually suppress the appetite, and so it gives people energy, yet keeps them from overeating. And it may be one reason why coffee is just it's expanding like crazy in China, and it's possible over the long term, if China can improve its political philosophy and its legal system to defend individual rights, so that the individual has complete property rights. Now, I'm not saying other countries are better, some are not better, but anyway, if China improves and gains much more respect in business, they may be able to export the Luckin Coffee brand in competition with Starbucks. And if there's one thing the Chinese are really amazingly good at, it is producing at a low cost. And so even if the product is not quite as good as Starbucks, but it looks the same or looks just as good, but maybe it saves people 50%, or maybe it saves them 70%, and it's very addictive. Well, it doesn't matter if the flavor isn't 100% perfect. It might even actually taste better if it's not as strong flavor. Many people, if they're from tea drinking cultures, they don't want a strong flavored coffee like Starbucks. They want something flavored weak, and that also saves on cost. So, in other words, even though Starbucks is a wonderful long-term business and should continue to dominate worldwide, it would have some competition. And so you might think, well, that's a reason why Starbucks is not a good thing. Or you could say the Chinese Luckin coffee is also not a good thing to invest in. But you know what? When competition comes out, it means that people are interested and they will promote the entire industry. If you only had Starbucks and people got tired of the service and the product over time, you could find that it's sort of a fad. In other words, it's popular for time, could be many years, but then people get tired of it, and so it starts to fail. But having competition and increased advertising and then increased choice, so that it's on people's minds, like, oh, well, you know, there's this exciting new product at Luckin Coffee. Well, then suddenly Starbucks comes back and creates another exciting product in competition. When you have competition, then you create greater interest and it keeps the industry alive. So just like with fast food, McDonald's, KFC, Burger King, and so on, or the pizza chains, having multiple competitors is not a bad thing, and it's actually a sign that it's an industry worth looking at, and it's probably a profitable industry. And then over the many years and many years of growth, the stock can be worth a lot of money. And only if there's a significant reason for people to reduce their coffee consumption would we be worried about investing. And so, well, if they discover some reason that caffeine is somehow linked with certain disease, just like smoking, well, you may see a decline. Obviously, smoking had its decades of being popular, and it's actually still growing. So even, you know, it's something so linked to poor health and death can still grow. And, you know, you might dispute that smoking is growing because news reports say, no, smoking rates are declining. Declining means going down. That means fewer people smoking. Well, the trick is, even though smoking rates are declining, in other words, out of 100 people, fewer people are smoking as compared to the previous years, but the population is growing, and the population is growing faster than the decline. So instead of 70 people out of 100 smoking, now it's 130 out of 200. So it went from 70 to 130, even though the percentage would drop. And so you can have the same thing with coffee, even if coffee goes out of style, but you have more countries that are buying coffee at Starbucks cafes, and you have more people in the world. So now, of course, we should have a decline in total population, but because so many countries are becoming wealthy, much wealthier than before, the number of coffee shops around the world is still growing. So it's a really good opportunity until there is what's called saturation. So if that comes about and countries stop increasing their wealth and stop industrializing, well, that would be a time that probably sales would either plateau or maybe start to go down, and it's possible the stock price could go down at that time. So, as I said, it's only if countries stop industrializing, and when we finally get down and reduce our population worldwide, at that point of decline, that would still not be a reason to not invest in coffee if the declining people are industrializing. So stay invested. This is not investment advice, remember, just educational purposes and entertainment purposes. Please like, thumbs up, and subscribe, and you can do very well over the long term if you buy at the right price. Look into Warren Buffett and his methods of price to book ratio and a good time to buy. It's very important. Take care now. Thanks.